People used to treat me like I was nothing, a mere decoration in a uniform, a shadow in the hall of power. That day in the courtroom, as Judge Thompson ordered me to remove my Medal of Honor, a mix of disbelief and quiet confidence rolled through me. I stood tall, my heart racing yet resolute, reflecting on how the very medal he scorned represented the unwavering sacrifices of my comrades. The tension in the room simmered. Thompson, his face flushed with belligerence, belittled my accomplishments, trying to strip not just my medal, but my dignity too. Veterans in the audience shifted uncomfortably, some in silent support, others echoing the judge's prejudice, revealing the ugly rifts in our society. My defiance stirred the crowd, each passing moment igniting a quickening pulse of camaraderie against the judge's oppressive tone. Despite the threats of contempt looming over me, I knew I had the weight of history on my side. The recorded moments of racial bias in Thompson's court whispered to me, nudging a deeper strategy. I wasn't just defending my honor. I was ready to expose a systematic failure that went beyond the bounds of this courtroom. As chaos erupted, I steadied myself, channeling the strength I had cultivated within the ranks of the military. The world needed to see that even in the face of injustice, we could rise. A secret journalist captured our confrontation, ensuring that Thompson's fragile facade cracked under the pressure of public scrutiny. This was not just about me. This battle held the power to change everything. With federal investigators closing in, my quiet resolve transformed into a rallying cry for those who had been wronged. In the end, my rise to the Deputy Secretary of Veterans Affairs became more than a personal triumph. It marked the beginning of a reckoning against prejudice in the judicial system. Justice was served, and with it the promise that no one would be treated like nothing ever again. Remove that medal, General. It's an embarrassment in my courtroom. Judge Thompson's voice sliced through the hushed whispers like a blade, his eyes narrowing at General Patricia Washington, who stood tall in her crisp military uniform. Your Honor, with all due respect, she began, her voice steady but firm. Respect? You think wearing that medal here earns you respect? Take it off, or you'll be in contempt of court, he snapped, his disdain palpable. A murmur rippled through the courtroom as veterans exchanged glances of disbelief. Patricia held her ground, her heart racing but her demeanor cool. This medal represents the lives of soldiers who fought for this country. It's not just a decoration, it's the sacrifice of my brothers and sisters. Sacrifice? The judge barked, slamming his gavel. You're just exploiting your rank as a prop for sympathy. Remove it. As Patricia's eyes flickered to the gallery, where familiar faces filled with support stood behind her. This is not just about me, Judge. You're disgracing every veteran in this room, she asserted, her voice rising. I will not be humiliated because of your bias. Contempt, Judge Thompson shouted, red-faced, trembling with anger. I'll have you removed by security. Gasps filled the air. A veteran stood up, fists clenched. You're abusing your power, Thompson. She deserves better. Silence, all of you, he roared. But the tide of discontent was shifting. A wave built by years of overlooked injustices. Patricia stood firm, her mind racing. She had documented the judge's racially biased rulings over the years. This confrontation, she realized, was a turning point. The tension crackled, the courtroom charged with indignation and mounting solidarity. I will fight this, she declared. You can strip me of my medal, but you can't erase our history. The judge faltered, anger giving way to a flicker of fear as the atmosphere transformed around him. This battle wasn't just for her, it was for every voice silenced by his authority. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, the air thick with unease. General Patricia Washington stood tall, her Medal of Honor gleaming despite the accusations swirling around her. Judge Thompson's voice cut through the tension, laced with disdain, as he dismissed her accomplishments, ordering her to remove the very symbol of her sacrifice. Patricia felt the weight of the moment, an unbearable pressure rising within her, a mixture of anger and humiliation. She straightened her back, steadied her voice. This medal represents the sacrifices of my brothers and sisters in arms, she asserted, her words deliberate and measured. The room fell silent, eyes painted with a spectrum of emotions. Some frowned, others looked on in solidarity, but all were aware of the growing storm brewing between them. As in history, the loss and other system of the recity. The judge's face twisted in contempt, an ugly flash of authority gone awry. "Remove it, or I will hold you in contempt," he growled, eyes narrowing like a predator homing in on prey. The tension snapped. Echoes of veterans murmuring in support danced along the walls, but Patricia remained resolute, the quiet rage building within her. She glanced toward the back of the courtroom, where a journalist aimed a hidden camera, capturing the moment of defiance. Patricia's heart raced, adrenaline pulsing through her veins. This wasn't just about a medal anymore, it was about justice, about changing a tide she had witnessed too many times. As Thompson threatened her again, an unfamiliar clarity washed over her. She wouldn't be silenced, she was done simply enduring. The thought of the documentation she kept of his biased rulings flickered to the forefront of her mind, evidence ready to expose the cracks in this facade of power. Patricia inhaled deeply, determination solidifying within her. The chaos erupted around her, but she stood firm, aware that this moment was merely a catalyst for a much larger fight. Time seemed to stretch as she prepared to confront not only Thompson, but an entire system steeped in prejudice. The room vibrated with impending change, and at that moment, she realized her voice could ignite a revolution. As the judge's words echoed in the courtroom, General Patricia Washington felt a surge of clarity wash over her. "No, Your Honor," she said, her voice steady yet firm. "This medal represents sacrifices made in the line of duty, not just my own, but those of countless others who served honorably." The murmurs of support from the audience ignited a glimmer of courage within her. He judged anger billing as he leaned forward. "You're in contempt. Remove it or risk further actions." But rather than retreat, Patricia stood taller. "Threatening me won't silence the truth," she replied quietly, yet with a newfound strength that resonated in the space. Veterans in the gallery shifted uneasily, some beginning to rise in solidarity. In that moment, Patricia remembered her training, the hours spent strategizing on the battlefield. For the first time, she made a deliberate choice. This wasn't just about her. This was about justice. As she scanned the faces around her, determination solidified her resolve. She saw a shared purpose. The crowd was her support system, more powerful than she realized. Turning toward Judge Thompson, she added, "Your bias is evident, and I won't allow it to dictate my worth." The words hung in the air, a subtle yet powerful declaration. Gradually, murmurs turned into supportive applause, signaling a shift. Patricia realized that this small victory was the first step in reclaiming her narrative. With every heartbeat, clarity surged through her. She wouldn't just fight for herself, she would expose the systemic issues at play. As shame washed over the judge's expression, Patricia felt the tide turning in her favor. The battle ahead would be relentless, but she was ready. Each small stand against injustice built a foundation for her greater comeback. General Patricia Washington stood in the tense courtroom, her heart pounding as Judge Thompson's voice echoed in her ears. "Remove your medal, General." The sunlight cascaded through the windows, illuminating the fearlessness painted on her face, even in the presence of such blatant contempt. Her medal gleamed, an emblem of her sacrifices, her brothers and sisters in arms who never returned. With a deep breath, she responded, "This medal represents more than my service. It honors the legacy of every soldier, especially those we lost," her voice steady and unwavering. The audience felt the weight of her words. Support murmured through the crowd. Vietnam veterans, young service members, while others, trapped behind privilege, simmered in the judge's prejudiced shadow. As Thompson's arrogance flared, he threatened contempt, his face reddening as the veils of decorum ripped. With each condescending word, he resumed control on a crumbling platform. Patricia's resolve swelled. She silently vowed to expose his disgrace. She had gathered evidence over the years, documented instances of bias that clung to the walls of his courtroom like dust. With united voices rising, veterans by her side grew restless. In the chaos, a journalist discreetly recorded the exchange. The room dividing, with the potential for an unseen shift. Patricia locked eyes with the judge, who miscalculated her strength, believing her a soldier without a battle plan. When the whisper of federal lawyers filled the room moments later, Thompson's bravado began to shatter. The evidence poured out, emails, testimonies. His rage morphed into stunned disbelief, a once mighty figure brought low by the very system he wielded. Gasps filled the air, a symphony of vindication wrapping around Patricia's heart. As the dust settled, Patricia stood tall, absorbing the raw energy of justice unfolding. A wave of applause erupted not in sound but in the silence of shared triumph, each wave lifting her spirit. She had reclaimed not just her honor, but had transformed an act of disgrace into a gathering storm against systemic injustice. Days later, Patricia was appointed Deputy Secretary of Veterans Affairs. The world witnessed more than a career saved. It was a testament to resilience, igniting a fierce light against long-standing shadows. Judge Thompson's career lay in tatters, a ghost of the arrogance he'd wielded, while Patricia's legacy began to forge roads towards justice and collective strength. I sit here reflecting on that fateful day in the courtroom. I can feel the weight of the moment still pressing against my chest. I remember the disbelief as Judge Thompson demanded I remove my Medal of Honor, a symbol of my comrades' sacrifices. In that charged atmosphere, I found the courage to stand firm, to assert that my medal represented something far greater than myself. It was a testament to the struggles and triumphs of countless brave souls who fought for a cause much larger than any individual. In the aftermath, the chaos transformed into a rallying call. The courtroom became a stage where the power of unity and resilience shone through. I knew then that my fight was not just for my dignity, but for everyone who ever faced injustice. As I stepped into my new role in the Department of Veterans Affairs, I felt empowered, an embodiment of change. Yet, I still wonder, do you think I went too far? What would you have done in my place? Have you ever had someone treat you like that? I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Let's engage in a conversation about justice, bias, and the struggle for what is right.